Introduced in the 1930s as an Arbor Day project by the American Legion Star Post 309, the tree planting ceremony was later changed to a Memorial Day ceremony. It is one of the longest continuum services of its kind in Los Angeles County, suspended only during World War II. In later years, memorial plaques were added to the newly planted trees in commemoration of past commanders and worthy members of Star Post 309. Trees were planted as a permanent and living memorial to the military veterans of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, the District's Attorney, the California Highway Patrol, and other notable law enforcement officers in the state of California. The trees were initially planted around the officers' barracks. Due to the walking distance between the trees and the amount of time it took to review the plaques, it was decided that a special area be set aside and a permanent memorial be erected. In 1972, Under Sheriff and Star Post Life member James Downey moved to erect a memorial wall that will be highly visible to law enforcement personnel and free from any development and construction on the ranch grounds. With the blessing of Sheriff Peter Pitches, this site was chosen and the design was created. The memorial site was erected and dedicated in 1973, and the plaques were removed from the original trees and affixed to this new memorial wall. Star Post members such as Art Sukley and Floyd Johnson, both of whose names are enshrined on the wall, were instrumental in creating this wall. It is designed in the form of a waving flag. Materials and labels were donated by Star Post. Each year, a new tree is planted in the memorial, replacing the previous year's tree, which is transplanted into nearby grounds.
My name is Ron Nybakken. I served the United States Navy from 1953 to 1961. After the United States Navy, I joined the Sheriff's Department in August of 1960. And in 1964, I joined the California Army National Guard with the intention of going to OCS. Army decided I was too old to be a second lieutenant, so they cut me loose. Subsequent to that, I enlisted or joined the California State Guard, which is a state agency, and served there for 12 years, retiring in the grade of lieutenant colonel in 1996. Well, I always felt it was an obligation that we as American citizens owed our country to serve whatever time was prescribed by whatever legislative body set those times. In my day, it was not a requirement. There was a draft, and I was registered for the draft, but I was not selected. But I volunteered because I felt I owed that to the country. Plus, I wanted to do it. I joined the Navy, see the world. I did. Service to country is an obligation we as American citizens have. It's an obligation we have, and some of us willingly do it, and many do not. Many grudgingly do it. But nonetheless, all men in uniform served their country willingly or unwillingly, but they all served and they all deserve our credit for having done that. I was a strange duck. I was one of these young fellows that always felt I had an obligation to serve my country. And I was absolutely surprised when I found out you actually got paid. And so when I joined the reserve in 1953, it was 53 was money was tight for young people just out of high school. And so that was welcome money to have as a reserve member of the armed forces. Then serving on active duty, my father became ill, seriously ill, and my mother was stressed to take care of him and worry about me at the same time. So I went on active duty for 2.5 years. And when I came home, I joined the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and served there for, well, when I bought my military time, 32 years total service. Subsequent to my joining the Sheriff's Department, I joined the California Army National Guard with the intention of going to OCS. However, the Pentagon decided I was too old to be a second lieutenant, so they let me go at my request because I was already finished my obligated service. And at a later time, I was given a direct commission in the California State Guard because I was somewhat of an expert in emergency management due to my service with the sheriff. So I retired from there in 1996 in the grade of lieutenant colonel. But I was not federally recognized. I was a state commission. LA County Sheriff Star Post 309, the American Legion, has been the department has had members since 1927. I became interested in the Legion due to my military service, and the adjutant at the time was a fellow named Art Zulke. And so I pestered Art to let me join, and he finally said, "Okay, Ron, join." And so I became a member of Star Post in 1974, and I've been a member ever since. I went through the chairs as a post officer starting, I believe it was in 1976 1976 or 77. I was elected to be post second vice commander, and then first vice commander the following year, and then the following year from that I was post commander, and that was in the Legion year 1980-81. I was post commander, and I served in that capacity for 1 year. Then the following year I was junior past commander, and then from that day to this I've just been a regular member of the post, although I'm probably this very senior right now in terms of our membership. We got a lot of really young fellows, fortunately. As luck would have it, Art Zulke passed away, and I was the only active member at the time that was willing to kind of step up to the plate, and so I took over as adjutant of the post for the interim period till I got Sheriff McConnell to help me reinvigorate the post, and so we got new post officers, and we've taken off from that point to this. And at the time that I turned over the reins to the present leadership, we had, I think, 200 and some members and dwindling fast, and now we're over 650. Well, the tree planting ceremony it does two things. It recognizes Arbor Day, which was the initial intent, but it also recognizes the service of our veterans who have gone on before us. Generally speaking, all of the members of the post whose names are on that wall have been commanders or officers of the post in one form or another. This year we're honoring two members who were not post commanders. Walt Alsop, was the historian for the post when I was post commander. And the other young fellow was recently deceased, I think, right on a bike ride, memorializing something. He was a Marine veteran, but he's a member of the post, and he's being honored this year as well with a tree. So the trees are planted there, and then they go from there to somewhere on the ranch property to propagate more trees, and that's a good thing. Well, back in the day, and I don't recall exactly the day, the Native Sons and Daughters of the Golden West, of which the Sheriff Biscaloos was a member. By the way, he was also a member of Star Post. He was a serving officer, reserve officer during World War II. Anyway, having said that, the tree planting was started, again, I don't remember exactly which year, but the first name on our wall is Bill Traeger, who was sheriff before Biscaloos, and Biscaloos subsequent to him. Traeger serving in the Spanish-American War before the Legion was even founded. The Legion was founded in Paris in 1917, but Traeger was considered a veteran of the Spanish-American War, and therefore his name is on our memorial wall. That all being said, Art Zulke, one of the assistant sheriffs by the name of, oh boy, I had to forget his name. He's, anyway, decided to memorialize the trees that were planted around the officers' barracks at what was known as Wayside Honor Rancho, and put them all in one place. And so we got the Sheriff Biscoe, who's under Sheriff Downey, to commit the property that the wall presently sits on. And the labor was all done by members of the post. Art Zilke was a bricklayer, and the rest of the guys helped mix concrete and lay flagstone, and they built that memorial. If you look at the memorial, you see it is in the form of a waving flag. And then all the plaques were removed from the various trees around the ranch property and placed on that memorial wall. I forget how many are up there at present, but it's almost full. I started becoming involved in tree planting the year I was post commander. We planted a tree for a fellow named Iden Kriegbaum, who joined the Sheriff's Department, I believe, in 1926 or 27, and retired in 1948. Anyway, he was one of the oldest members of the post at the time. After he passed on, we planted a tree for him. That's the first time I have a memory of attending the tree planting ceremony. I'll be 88 years old this year. I have enjoyed a life of in the military. I loved every moment of it. The only regret I have is I didn't re-enlist and stay in the Navy for the full 20 or even 30 years. And the reason I didn't is my dad had just passed on, and my mother needed me back home. Otherwise, I would have been a career man, and the sheriff would have known me. At present, I'm somewhat physically limited, principally due to age, but I like to stay active with the American Legion as long as I possibly can, and I'll stay active with the tree planting ceremony as long as I possibly can. I'm looking at I don't know, probably 5-10 more good years. Let's hope. If the good Lord willing and the creek don't rise, we'll see what happens.